Hi folks, I'm Matt, and it's time for a board game. What am I wearing? Okay, so continuing our Catan review here of all the expansions is the second expansion called Cities and Knights. And this one's a little different. There's a little bit more rules than there were from Seafarers, so here we go. Of course, you see the board setup is relatively the same here, but the only thing that's changed in the startup is you start with one city and one settlement. Why? Because, hey, it's Cities and Knights. We have to start with the city. Now, anyway, I'll explain that later, but when your city is collecting resources, you can get additional resources for sheep, wood, and ore. And those additional resources are paper, coin, and cloth. Now the thing is, instead of getting 2 wood, like you usually would if you were near a forest, you would get 1 wood and 1 paper, or 1 ore and 1 coin, or 1 sheep, 1 cloth. So that's how you get those extra commodities. Why would you need those extra commodities? Well, because you have a new commodity counter. Instead of that nice little cardboard thing that we used to have, now we have this little flip Rolodex thing that kind of shows you what you get on what you build and so on. Looks a little confusing. I'll be honest, I had a little time getting used to it, but it's not that hard. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Other fine things that you can get here is a city wall. And if you put a city wall up, it kind of protects you from the robber. So if the robber comes on one of your squares and you have more than 7 cards, well, you get a +2 in the number of cards that you can hold in your hand when the robber comes. So city walls can be very beneficial if you have issues dealing with the robber there. Some other changes that are going away is you don't play with the development deck anymore. Instead, you get these cards signifying science, politics, and trade, and I'll get to these cards and what they mean and how you can get them in a minute, because you can't buy these cards, you have to earn them through different ways. But you also get rid of the largest army card. You do not use this anymore because we're going to have different knights. You do keep the longest road, you can still have the longest road, but the largest army is gone because now we have knights. And by the way, for a city wall, it costs 2 brick. Forgot to mention that. And for knights, it costs 1 sheep and 1 rock. Don't worry, you don't have to remember all this. They're on the cards. You see city wall, you see knight. And also, by the way, look at this. You see the ship too, because you can combine seafarers with this expansion. So I do like that. Now, what kind of knights are there? Well, there's the regular knight, there's a strong knight, and then there's a mighty knight. And when you first buy a knight, of course, it's just going to be the regular knight. If you want to give him a promotion to a strong knight, you have to pay another sheep and wool, and then he becomes a strong knight. And I'll explain about mighty knights in a minute. But why would you need knights? Well, let's say one of the reasons you might need knights, when you buy one, they become inactive. You see we're having them on the black and white? Color is active. To activate a knight, you pay a wheat, knight activation. But let's say I wanted to save a spot in my area and someone else is trying to build here. We're racing to build in that hex. If you've played Catan enough, you know how aggravating that is. You're both trying to get to the same spot. Well, maybe you don't have enough to buy a city, but dadgummit, you can buy a knight. And you can buy a knight and put him there, right there, to kind of hold your spot to build a settlement. Because later on, you can just come on in and build the settlement there. Now, the only way they're going to get rid of your knight is if they bring in a strong knight. And a strong knight can bump out a knight there, if need be, if that other person really wants that spot. Another reason to use the knights, and let's say he's inactive, if you have a robber on your hex, you want to get rid of the robber, activate the knight. The knight then chases that robber away anywhere you want to put him, and of course you get to steal 1 resource from that hex, wherever you put it from that player. And once that happens, the knight goes inactive again. Whenever he does an action, he always goes inactive. You have to pay another wheat to activate him again for later on. Now, the other thing that the knights work on is the inevitable battle that's going to happen when the barbarians come. And I'll talk more about the barbarians in a minute. First off, I do want to get to this little sweet ditty here. This is the new Cards things tells you how to build stuff, politics, science, trade. And eventually, by paying just one cloth or one coin or one paper, you can automatically upgrade it. And what you do is you just flip this over. And now what happens? Well, it gives you the same measurements there, but it says, hey, you want to build some more, build 2 cloth, and you can buy the next trade. But what happens is, when you're rolling the die, the red die, if it's a 1 or a 2, and you're rolling a third die, if it hits on yellow, and this is a 1 or 2, which there you go, there's a 2, then I would get to pick a yellow card, resource card, because of that. You have to roll all 3 dice at the same time. As you see, there's green, there's yellow, there's blue somewhere on. There's blue. This is the Barbarian. Whenever you roll the Barbarian tile, you have to move the Barbarian 1 circle closer to Catan. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, so as you start upgrading your stuff here, as you see, you can get more resource cards. And the more you upgrade, the better your chances. Look at the level 2 there. Now I got a 1, 2, or 3 if I roll. Then I can get a yellow card, as long as this is yellow. If you roll it yellow and you're at the very first one, you haven't upgraded anything, that doesn't mean you get to pick a yellow card for no reason. Only when you start upgrading your buildings and whatnot. But let's say if I get to a level 3 here. Once you get to a level 3, things start happening. The more you upgrade your places, your civilization, so to speak, you get special benefits. Like what? Well, this one's the trading house. You can trade any commodity at a 2-1 ratio. Instead of a 4 commodities for 1 thing from the bank, you only have to trade in 2 for 1. That's awesome. But look at this one. You can promote strong knights to mighty knights. So that strong knight, you could promote him to a mighty knight, and a mighty knight is even more powerful. So that's really good. And the last one here says, hey, if you receive no production on your turn and the roll is not a 7, you can take any resource of your choice from the bank. So if I rolled whatever, an 8, and I am not on an 8, well, guess what? I can still, if I have this upgraded, I can still grab any resource I need from the bank. That's really awesome. But wait, there's more. If you go to 5, then something really happens, or level 4 I should say, excuse me, I got my levels off. If you go to a level 4, which is one last step from the bottom there, then really good things happen. Of course, as you see, your chances of getting resource cards are greatly, vastly improve. But you also get to put a Metropolis on your city. And what do Metropolises do? Metropolises keep you safe for when the Barbarians come. Oh no, they're getting closer. Again, I will explain this in a minute. But they protect your city from barbarians. Also, they're worth 2 victory points. However, you won't last onto these all the time, because if someone, like if I got to 5 first, I would say, okay, I got to 5 in that one first. I mean, level 4, yay! But someone else got to a level 5 before I could, then they steal this token from me, and they take this Metropolis and they put it on their building, and they get the 2 bonus points and safety from the barbarians, who are closely coming in. All right, so let me talk about these 3 resources here. First off, trade. You can get a lot of neat stuff when it comes to trade. One of the things would be the merchant. The merchant counts as a victory point. Put him on your circle. He's also a 2-for-1 ratio. He's of great benefit to you. Things like politics will help strengthen, well, they give benefits for knights, basically. You can place knights or strengthen knights or whatever. And what science does is help you out with your resources a lot. Like, there's one option in there that lets you switch tokens. So, man, I want to get a better chance of getting more wood, or I want to screw someone else over about not getting as much wheat. So I'll give them a 2 instead of an 8. I like a lot of the options and cards in that deck. But that's how these all work here. So you're going to get some people with some Metropolises in there and get points. But wait, there's one more way to get points. Of course, when the Barbarians attack, and believe me, these suckers attack a lot in the game. When it finally gets to move to that thing, they attack. Now, what is the Barbarians' number? How do you know who wins this? Well, add up the number of cities. That's how strong the Barbarians are. And then add up the active knights. Active. If they're inactive, you cannot count them. Remember, if they're black and white, you can't count them. They have to be on color. And they all, mighty knights are worth 3, strong knights are worth 2, regular knights are worth 1 point. If the number of active knights is equal or greater than the number of cities on the board, then Catan wins, and they are victorious. And of course, After that, any active knight goes immediately inactive because they've done their duty and you have to activate them again. But if Catan's the winner, the person with the most knights gets this card. It's a Defender of Catan card. It's worth another victory points. That's really awesome. But what happens if the Barbarians win? If the Barbarians win, the person who contributed the least amount of knights, or no knights, they get their city destroyed and it becomes a settlement, which sucks. And then, of course, the Barbarians, regardless of the outcome, go back here and then travel their way back to Catan. Okay, so how do I feel about Catan Cities and Knights? To be honest, again at Gen Con, when I was asking about expansions, this was the only expansion that people could tell me about because in a majority of people's minds, this is the best expansion of all the Catans. In fact, I was told several times, just get Cities and Knights. Don't worry about any of the other expansions. Just get Cities and Knights. That's the best one. It's the best one. Did you play the others? No, I don't think so, but Cities and Knights is the best one. And so I was really excited to play Cities and Knights because I hear it's the best one. Is it going to be my favorite? At this moment, no, it's not. And I'll tell you why. I didn't like it because it really changes Catan. It changes the whole aspect of it. The Barbarians are a threat. It adds a lot more to the game, so the game takes a lot longer. It kind of slows it down a little bit. I'm not a fan of those things that have been added to it. However, maybe if I play it more and get used to it, I'll grow to like it a little bit more. I'll be honest, I had one nephew who played this one and he loved it. That was his favorite expansion. And by the way, he really doesn't like Catan. So what does that tell you? This Cities and Knights expansion is very un-Catan-like. It doesn't, I think Seafarers did a good job keeping with the theme. I think this one kind of just changed that easy trade theme and made it a little bit something more. And maybe that's what a lot of people wanted, was more in their Catan. If that's someone like you who said, oh yeah, I used to play Catan all the time, but it got boring and I boxed it up. Well, this is the expansion for you. You better go get Cities and Knights because it does change the game completely. For people who love Catan and they're happy with the gameplay, I don't know if Cities and Knights is for you because it does change the feel of the game. It's a lot more dangerous because, man, when those Barbarians come, you're freaking out because you don't have enough activated knights and they're going to destroy one of your cities, or the pressure's on you to get knights because you're the one contributing the least, and when they lose, you're going to get destroyed. And sometimes people don't even activate their knights on purpose because they know you have the least amount and they want your city to be destroyed. It's crazy. So I don't know. I'm so about it. Again, like I said, I think I need to play it a little bit more. Maybe I'll warm up to it. Right now, I can only recommend it if Catan, the original game, has gotten boring to you, then yes, get Cities and Knights. If you love Catan and you love Seafarers and you're thinking, hey, maybe I should go to the next step, you may want to hold off because this one changes the whole gameplay, in my opinion, of Catan. All right, gamers, that's it for now. Until next time, game on!